Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters. Absurdity in America. That is the subject of tonight's Waters Words. So every day in this country, we read about things that 5, 10, 15 years ago, we would have said, that's impossible. This would never happen in the United States of America. But in 2017, the impossible is now possible. So we've compiled the most absurd things that occurred this week to show you, the American people, how straight up ridiculous things have gotten. Maybe after watching this, we can all reflect and learn a thing or two. Let's begin. At the White House press briefing this week, Urban Radio Network's reporter April Ryan actually asked President Trump's spokesperson the following question.
Does this president believe slavery was wrong?
Did you hear that? Let's play it again and let it sink in.
Does this president believe slavery was wrong?
What the hell kind of question is that? What a waste and a disgrace. Here's how Sarah Sanders responded.
I think it is disgusting and absurd to suggest that anyone inside of this building would support slavery.
Absurd is the correct word. Speaking of, recall how the left is trying to remove monuments of our founding fathers throughout Washington, D.C., but this just in, they want to erect a monument to former D.C. Mayor Marion Barry. In case you don't remember, Barry was caught in a FBI sting smoking crack.
You'll still have the right to stop answering at any time. You also have to stop answering at any time until you talk to a lawyer.
And now he got locked up for that. And the mayor has passed. The cost of the statue, $300,000. Taxpayer money. So, Thomas Jefferson statue, no. Marion Barry statue, yes. Moving on. So this week, a Muslim terrorist mowed down 8 people in his van in Lower Manhattan. Luckily, an NYPD officer shot him and took him down. The immigrant from Uzbekistan survived and asked to fly an ISIS flag in his hospital room. President Trump tweeted this. NYC terrorist was happy as he asked to hang ISIS flag in his hospital room. He killed 8 people, badly injured 12, should get death penalty. Now, Wall Street Journal reporter Eli Stokolos took issue with the president's call for the death penalty.
The unifying thread is the sort of broader politics of Donald Trump, the ethnocentric nationalism. He did not react this way when a white person shot dozens of people in Las Vegas. He did not come and say, well, we have to do an immediate policy change. We need to give this guy the death penalty. Hey, Eli, President Trump didn't call for the death penalty for the Vegas shooter because the Vegas shooter killed himself after the massacre. You're a reporter. You're supposed to know that. Do your homework. But not to be outdone, MSNBC terror analyst Malcolm Nance said this after the NYC attack.
What you're seeing is not Islam whatsoever. None of this is condoned, including the, sacrificing and getting yourself killed at the end of a terrorist attack. None of that is Islamic. It's anti-Islamic. Even Christians, we've seen Catholics in Canada who converted to quote-unquote Islam and then carried out acts of terror.
So a Muslim immigrant who was radicalized by ISIS, yelled Allah Akbar, and killed innocent Americans has nothing to do with Islam. Nothing at all. Not even a little bit. And maybe he was a Catholic convert? I guess spouting absurdity like that is how you become a terror analyst on MSNBC. And how do you get a tech job at the DNC? Don't be a straight white male. That's right. The Democratic National Committee Data Service Manager, Madeline Leader, wrote an email looking for resumes to fill their tech positions. But she had one small qualification. I personally would prefer that you not forward to cisgender straight white males, as they are already in the majority. Now, I don't even know what a cisgender means. I had to look it up. Apparently, it means their gender corresponds to the anatomy that they were born with, meaning like, I'm a man. Now, could you imagine if the DNC sent out an email saying gay blacks need not apply? Their qualification for DNC tech jobs should be, don't get us hacked again. And finally, not in America, but absurd nonetheless, a prominent Egyptian lawyer went on television and said it is a man's duty to rape a woman if she dresses provocatively.
وما هو
تمشي
عارفهم.
وقطع نص فخدتها باينه المؤخره.
هو احنا بيرضينا واحنا ما بناخدش بالنا
عارف
من
انا قلت
بناتنا؟
ايه؟ انا قلت البنت اللي تمشي كده يبقى التحرش بيها واجب وطني.
هو ينفع الكلام ده؟
Now, the lawyer is not even backing down, saying he was protecting morals. And that, my friends, is absurd. Joining me now, conservative columnist Ann Coulter. Any reaction?
And best-selling author 12 times. I'm so glad we're getting more people like that lawyer you just played for
I know,
us.
he's, speaking of Harvey Weinstein.
And if I could just say one thing about the Nance thing, and this isn't Islam, I always imagine the terrorists getting so frustrated by this. They do everything they can. They're yelling Allah Akbar. He's asking to fly the ISIS flag. They must be sitting, back in ISIS land saying, what do we have to do?
Yeah, what more do we need to do? Hello, over
you
here.
Won't give us credit for this. ISIS actually did criticize Obama for claiming the Fort Hood slaughter was not
an
workplace
violence.
Yeah, he was attacked by Islamic terrorists saying, acknowledge our good work.
Give us credit that we deserve. All right, so obviously we've talked about this all week, the terror attack down in Lower Manhattan. And apparently this Uzbekistan immigrant came here from a diversity lottery program. Here's the president on that.
I'm calling on Congress to immediately terminate the diversity visa lottery program. It's a disaster for our country. This program grants visas not on a basis of merit, but simply because applicants are randomly selected in an annual lottery. And the people put in that lottery are not that country's finest.
So, Ann, you're telling me in America, we spin a wheel, and if it lands on Uzbekistan, we say, hey, you can come in. That's how we do it?
Yes. Every single part of our immigration laws is insane. And as soon as Americans find out about it, they're ready to boil politicians in oil.
Yeah, no one even knew about a lottery system.
Some of us did.
Yes, you did.
Read Adios America closely. You'll remember the Egyptian who shot up the LL counter in L.A., killing people. And we brought him in at age 65 because you want to get your immigrants to go right on Social Security. Those are the best ones to get.
Perfect timing.
He was a diversity. It wasn't even him. It was his wife who got the diversity lottery. So some of us have been screaming about the diversity lottery forever. Unfortunately, this is why the media's and complicit with both the official Republican Party and Democratic Party, their insistence on not talking about immigration is working so beautifully. It takes a terrorist attack like this for most people to even hear of the diversity lottery, which is everything you would think it is.
When they have these parties in Manhattan, these liberals who hate these immigration policies from the president, they don't have a lottery drawing about who they invite to the party. They select who they want. They're going to add value to the party. They're going to be good conversationalists. They're not going to do anything bad.
Right.
Why do we have a lottery system for who we let into the country?
And who even wants to go to those parties? Everyone wants to come to America.
Right.
Where we are the patriots. It would be like the patriots, randomly saying, "Oh, we don't have enough guys who are blind playing on our team. We needed some more blind people." Now, look at which countries are not admitting those. And by the way, the original purpose of the diversity lottery, weirdly enough, was to get more people like the people who populated America, i.e., Western Europeans, because the 1965 Immigration Act basically shut down white immigration to America. We've been taking in millions of immigrants every year since 1970, 90% from the third world. So the original idea was, we're not getting anyone from England. Anyone ever heard of that country? Let's have a diversity lottery.
Yeah, they already speak English when they're from England, and that's a good thing to have when you come to America.
Right, and they don't think it's a man's duty to rape a woman dressing provocatively. So that's a bonus.
So it's an affirmative
action
policy
within
for
a few years. It completely flipped. Which countries are not sending the most immigrants? The ones who are on, for example, the State Department terrorist list.
Yeah.
Those are the winners of the diversity lottery. Okay, so that's bad enough that we're going to put all of the countries on the State Department's terrorist list.
Right.
But then they do exactly what you say. It's a Powerball. You don't even look at, we get 20 million applications a year. 7% of all immigrants to the United States come in through, you're from one of the worst countries in the world, and now we're going to randomly pick your name out of a hat.
I know, it makes no sense. And, nothing against diversity. Diversity in immigration policy is a good thing. It's a noble thing. We're already a diverse country. No, but, we're already a diverse country.
Nothing, I'm sorry, I've got to correct you.
What?
I know that we have been told this every day of our lives, 7 million times a day. There is nothing good about diversity. Every place there is diversity, there is civil war, countries are breaking up. Look what
want
happened.
Diversity in schools and things like that.
We have it, and no, we don't. It's never been a good thing. No one can put in the history of the world, all over the world. Look at just Ireland. They're all Irish. And the Catholics and the Protestants can't get along.
But America is the melting pot. We have people from other
they're
countries
not melting.
and other ethnicities.
We got enough of them. We're going to have to do some heavy smelting to get them melted at this point already. I mean, if we stop now, it's diverse. It's not a good thing. We can learn to deal with it. It is never, ever a good thing.
What I'm saying is diversity should be here, and then I'd say ability to speak English, education,
having any skills,
vocational abilities. I think it should go above that.
Does not think it's a man's duty to rape a woman dressing provocatively. I want to put that one on the list.
He will not be hitting the lottery. I also want to talk to you about this issue of chain migration. Again, no one knows what this is, but it is policy in this country. The president addressed it on Laura Ingram's new show.
This horrible animal, he's an animal as far as I'm concerned. 23 people have touched him, maybe came in because he was in, and he was only in with a green card, supposedly. But chain migration, where his whole family comes in, his mother can come in, his father, his grandmother, everybody comes in. Chain migration is a disaster for this country, and it's going to end.
So the terrorists hit the lottery, and then he gets to bring in more of his friends.
Okay, this is proof of the media and political censorship on the issue of immigration. Guess how many immigrants come in? Not because we want them or anyone approve them, but I'm the third cousin of, the brother-in-law of a guy who came last year.
Is that really how third cousins get in?
Eventually, yes. We're bringing in entire tribes. This is why cabs in Minnesota, cab drivers in Minneapolis won't drive you if you have alcohol or a dog, because, half of Somalia is now living in Minnesota. What percentage of immigrants we legally take in every year do you think come in just because they can say, ha, I'm related to somebody who came 10 years ago, you have to take me?
So how many
people? Guess the percentage.
You tell me.
77%, and most Americans don't know that.
They know it now because you just said it on Water's World.
72% come in on average from chain migration, i.e. I'm related to, this is my brother-in-law, and he doesn't have a job, and I'd like to come and accept welfare too.
So how many people did this guy bring in from Uzbekistan?
He brought in 23.
23 people. This
that
terrorist
we know of
was the contact point for 23 additional people from Uzbekistan as well?
He was the contact person. It may have been another Uzbek. Once he gets one in, the next one can have all of his relatives come in. And then the next one can have. So if you actually add it up, it's probably, and also you notice if you follow this guy's life, every place he goes, whether it's in, I had no idea we had so many Uzbeks in Ohio. Whether it's Ohio or Florida or New Jersey, he's living with all Uzbeks. His friends are all Uzbeks. He's starting. We're not melting.
Right. And the point is, you have coal miners in this country who are out of work and who can't afford to feed their family, and we're bringing in Uzbeks
who are accepting a lot of welfare
America and are causing a lot of problems.
But even before they commit terrorism, it's a big point with the left to keep saying, most Muslims are peaceful. Okay, I think we got that message by now. That's not the point. Even when they're not mowing down pedestrians or flying planes into the World Trade Center, they're accepting welfare. They're bringing in relatives who accept welfare. I mean, take another program. A very tiny percentage of Americans, immigrants, are here because we want them, probably less than 10%. Take the H-1B visas. That's the Silicon Valley, they're these computer whizzes. Sounds great, doesn't
smart
it?
Ones.
No, most of them are doing, and I love them. At least they're not, committing terrorism or accepting welfare. Well, but their relatives are. They come in, they're attached to a particular company, so it's great for Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates because they can underpay them. They're not allowed to go to another company. It's indentured labor, but because they're here, they then get to bring in all of their relatives, supported by the taxpayer.
The whole thing is a conspiracy between big business and the left, and the American people get hosed. Ann, thank you very much, as always. The Democrats out of control. Tomi Lahren on that up next. But later, a classic Water's World quiz. What country did we declare our independence from?
Virginia. Correct?
A civil war is brewing within the Democratic Party. A new book by former DNC chairwoman Donna Brazile claims Hillary Clinton rigged her party's nomination process in the 2016 primaries, writing, "In exchange for raising money and investing in the DNC, Hillary would control the party's finances, strategy, and all the money raised. Her campaign had the right of refusal of who would be the party communications director and who would make final decisions on all the other staff." Even Pocahontas is disgusted.
This is a real problem. But what we've got to do as Democrats now is we've got to hold this party accountable.
Do you agree with the notion that it was rigged?
Yes.
President Trump responded on Twitter. Pocahontas just stated that the Democrats, led by the legendary crooked Hillary Clinton, rigged the primaries. Let's go, FBI and Justice Department. Joining me now, Fox News contributor Tomi Lahren and Democratic strategist Liz Smith. So, Tomi, I'll begin with you. Hillary can't say this is a vast right-wing conspiracy here. This is the Democratic Party admitting that she rigged the primary against Bernie.
You know what's sad? All this effort, all this work into rigging it, and she still lost.
She
when we
can't
think
even
about
rig
it,
it
it's
right.
actually quite pathetic.
It really is. I mean, she's just incompetent. And, you know, and my point is, if she could rig a primary against Bernie, why wouldn't she try to rig the general against Donald Trump?
You know, that's the question that still remains to be answered. But are we really shocked by any of this?
No.
I mean, I wonder what the Democrats are thinking. Are they really in shock and awe after what Donna Brazile revealed? I mean, come on, let's be honest.
Yeah, and here, I can weigh in on this and tell you that no, we're not. And 2 years ago, when this was happening, people like me, people like the guy I was working for, Martin O'Malley, we were ringing alarm bells about this.
Oh, wait a second. She not only rigged the primary against Bernie, she rigged it against Martin O'Malley. He would have won the nomination, maybe.
Well, I'm not going to use the term rigged, but there's no question they acted inappropriately and put a thumb on the scale. So
Yes.
I'm not going to defend their conduct there. But hey, man, Jesse, Tommy, where were you guys when they were doing this back then? Because it was public knowledge. People like me were out there expressing outrage, and
well,
they
we
weren't.
didn't know about this until the WikiLeaks emails revealed it, and then what happened was Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to step down on the eve of her own convention.
No, this was reported in 2015. We were screaming from the rooftops, and you were nowhere to be found. I would have loved to have had your help.
Well, scream a little louder, Liz. Let me ask you guys this. Is this basically the Democratic Party saying, Hillary, go back into the woods, take your Chardonnay, we're done with you? Go ahead, Tommy.
I would say absolutely so. I think they're really trying to get rid of her, and I think that they're trying to kind of bring the anger out of these Bernie bros. And again, where's Bernie Sanders in all this? I said it last night on Twitter. If Bernie has any grit at all, he will tear the DNC a new one. He will be vocal, and all these supporters that he had will come out en masse, and they will denounce the DNC, and something will change. But he's been rather quiet about the whole thing.
Yeah, why haven't we heard from Bernie, Liz?
Because, look, we are moving on. Everyone agrees that the DNC acted inappropriately in 2016. That's why we elected a new leader there. And the new leader, Tom Perez, when he was running for DNC chair, said that the 2016 process was flawed, and he's going to stop it from being repeated again. And let me just say one thing. I mean, you guys are so obsessed with Hillary Clinton, and it's like, move on.
Wait a
the
second.
Democratic Party has moved on, and you guys haven't. And
Wait a second. I didn't break the news that she rigged the primary. Donna Brazile, a Democrat, wrote a book about it. That's why we're covering it.
I mean, I feel like every day it's Hillary, Hillary, Hillary. And do you remember that guy, Hiro Onada? He was in the Japanese Imperial Army, and 30 years after World War II ended, they found him in the wilds of the Philippines, still fighting the war because no one told him it was over. Sometimes I feel like no one ever told you that the election is over.
I
that
feel
Donald
like
Trump
no one ever told Hillary the election's
lost.
over because she still continues to fight. Tommy?
Oh my goodness, there's just so many places I could go with that. We're obsessed with Hillary because Hillary is obsessed with Hillary. Furthermore, there are still people protesting the election. It's been almost a year now. So I think that we've accepted it. I'm wondering when the other side of the aisle is going to accept it, because every day in and day out, that's all we hear. So I think that's a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black, don't you think?
All right, well, listen, let's just accept the results of the election and that Donald J. Trump is the President of the United States. Now, let's move on. I want to show you guys an ad, despicable ad, by the Latino Victory Fund. Now, they are aligned with the Democrat running for governor, Northam, who's running against Ed Gillespie. This is an actual ad that was released on television. Go.
Run!
Is this what Donald Trump and Ed Gillespie mean by the American dream?
Now, Tommy, this is a new low in political advertising. They have yanked the ad, and the excuse they use is because a Muslim terrorist mowed down people in his car the other day. But before that, they were for the ad, so I don't really know where they stand. And this is helping Ed Gillespie in the Virginia governor's race because it is so outrageous.
Well, it's disgusting. Really, who wants to watch that? Not only is it disgusting, it's misguided. And I'd like to hear what the Democrats have to say about this, if they support it, if they really think that this is what Republicans are trying to do, is mow down minority children. I don't think that's ever been a part of our platform. Do we want to keep out illegal immigrants? Of course we do, but we're not going to mow them down in pickup trucks. Come on.
Liz, let me just put this to you this way. If Romney in 2012 had cut an ad with a bunch of black gang members on motorcycles, you know, running down white kids in a little neighborhood with some rap music, and then at the end it says, you know, paid for Romney for president, the outrage on the national scene would have been white hot. But this is a blip. Because it's a Democrat ad.
Right. Well, no. Well, I first of all, I disagree with that. And you know, just to Tommy's point, she's waiting to hear Democrats weigh in. Democrats have already weighed in. I have not spoken to a single Democrat who has defended this ad. Ralph Northam didn't run this ad. It was an outside group, and he has said that he thought the ad was off, you know, off in terms of its tone and everything.
When they were first asked about the ad, his campaign spokesman said she supported it.
And let me say this. I thought the ad was offensive. I was not an ad that I would support. And you know what? It resorted to the sort of fear tactics that we're used to seeing from the Republican Party. And remember this. It was an ad that was released in response to an ad from Ed Gillespie tying Ralph Northam, who's a doctor and veteran, to MS-13 gang members. So what this has become is a race to the bottom. But remember, it was started by Ed Gillespie.
Well, if it was a race to the bottom, the Democrats won. And there's nothing wrong, Tommy, with saying that my opponent, a Democrat, supports sanctuary cities that allow MS-13 to run wild in Virginia. Is there not?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's a point that we're actually trying to make because it's reality. It's not like it's any part of the Republican platform or Gillespie's platform that we're going to mow down minority children. I mean, it's disgusting, it's wrong, it's misguided. And you're right, at least the Democrats are able to win something, and that's going lower than ever before. So
all right, ladies, we got to run.
And look, there are no sanctuary cities in Virginia, and MS-13 is not running rampant around Virginia. Okay?
Not yet. All right, Tommy, Liz, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Rosie O'Donnell blaming President Trump for having to see a therapist. A therapist who actually treats Trump anxiety disorder is going to be with me coming up next. Trump's unexpected election has really rattled liberals. Comedian and Trump foe Rosie O'Donnell recently told W Magazine, "I was in pure, unadulterated shock, as if I had fallen through the ice on a lake. I was underneath the water, and I couldn't even see the surface. It was a severe shock to my entire essence and my beliefs in the order in the world. I did a lot of therapy." Nell Gibbon Daly is a psychotherapist and mental health journalist who has treated several patients like Rosie who are experiencing so-called Trump anxiety. And she joins me now. So are you really seeing an uptick in patients since the election results, Nell?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
how many do you see for something like this?
Well, to answer this question, human beings are affected by our social and political climate. And if people are under stress and they feel anxious about the world at large, then they come into therapy to try to treat the stress. And we don't just treat the individual. We can't just look at someone as an individual. We have to actually look at the community and the world in which they are functioning and living.
Okay,
and
so like what kind of age group comes in to see you to talk about their Trump stress? All ages?
All ages. And I would say that it crosses political affiliations.
Oh, are there really Republicans that are stressed out about Donald Trump too?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I definitely get stopped not only in my office and, talk about this in my office, but I get stopped personally about this. People who voted for Trump because they didn't want Hillary to win, but they feel very concerned about the political climate which we're living in now.
Now, are these patients that you already see for other issues, and then during the hour they just bring up Trump? Or are they there mainly to see you for their Trump anxiety syndrome?
Well, there's nothing official called the Trump anxiety syndrome.
I know, I just coined it, so
I just want to say that. Definitely after the election, leading up to the election and then after the election, I saw a lot, I would say especially young women, and again, I practice in New York City and in Connecticut. I saw a lot of young women between the ages, I would say, of like 16 and 30 who were really, really upset.
And what do they tell you when they come sit down on your couch? Are they experiencing physical symptoms? Are they worried? What are they worried about?
I mean, yeah, and we can see how that manifested in terms of all the marches that took place after the election. I mean, people literally took to the streets. They didn't know what else to do with all of their anxiety that they were feeling that he was elected president. So they started mobilizing and going into politics in their own small way.
But what are they experiencing kind of physically and emotionally, and what is it about?
Are you talking specifically after the election?
Yeah, the patients, what do they tell you they're really worried about specifically?
I mean, a lot of them were specifically worried about the fact that Trump was going to be the person who was leading the country and that his policies were going to dictate what their future looked like. And
like
for
what policies were they mainly worried about?
I think a lot of people were very worried about the immigration policies. I think...
So did you see a lot of illegal immigrants that are worried about being deported?
I do. Well, yes, not only do I see people who are of all different ethnic races and in all sort of different stages in immigration, but people who know somebody who also is in some sort of immigration process. And I saw a lot of women who were very upset about the rhetoric and the tenor of Donald Trump and his, when he was running for president, the way, some of the things that came out about him and how he feels towards women, some of his beliefs. When he was elected president, then showed up in my office saying, how could this actually happen? Haven't we come so far as to not elect somebody who would have these sort of belief systems about women?
So how do you treat someone that has stress about Donald Trump's presidency? Do they meditate? Do they do yoga? Do they have mantras that they repeat when he speaks on television?
You know, Jesse, it's really important not to belittle this point.
I'm not belittling at all.
No.
I'm wondering what the tools that you give them to reduce their
practical
anxiety.
measures, but you have to understand that when people are stressed in our society, we're not just facing an opiate epidemic in this country, we're facing a massive mental health crisis. And it cannot be said enough. 1 of every 6 Americans in this country is on psychiatric medication. 1 of every 4 women is on psychiatric medication. $210 billion in lost income was lost last year in the American economy because of mental health issues.
So have you actually prescribed patients drugs to deal with their Trump anxiety?
I am totally holistic, and I do not prescribe. I'm a psychotherapist, not a psychiatrist. And I'm also a mental health journalist, so I look deeply at what's causing people to feel so much stress and anxiety in our country today. And when you take a look at what happened in Las Vegas, when you take a look at what happened in Charlottesville, what people are feeling about the tensions building with North Korea.
No, I agree. Listen, we're living in a very, very dangerous time internationally as well as domestically with the shootings and the hurricanes and things like that. But with all due respect, do you think the generations these days that are coming to see you, do you think they've gotten a little soft when they need to see a psychiatrist to deal with the president?
I don't think that they're just dealing with the president, that they're dealing with the political and social economic times and the political times, the place in which we live. So no, and I want to qualify here. I don't just see young patients. I see people who are in the age ranges of 18 to 65.
Okay.
So, and again, across political affiliations,
All right.
people are stressed, people are worried, and
well, is there? Listen, if the president can do anything to reduce the stress of the country, you just. Let us know, because I know he watches Watters World. And again, Nell, thank you very much for coming on.
I have to say, I have to give it to the president that he is talking about the opiate epidemic in this country, which is great.
Yes, he is. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
An inspiring personal story from a Hispanic immigrant that the Democrats do not want you to hear when we come right back. President Trump is constantly criticized by the left for his tough stance on illegal immigration. But the president welcomes legal immigration. When immigrants wait in line and gain citizenship through the legal process, a video message from Mr. Trump plays at these naturalization ceremonies.
There is no higher honor. There is no greater responsibility. You now share the obligation to teach our values to others, to help newcomers assimilate to our way of life, and uplift America by living according to its highest ideals of self-governance and its highest standards.
Joining me now is newly minted U.S. citizen Esther Donahue and her husband, Tom. So, Esther, welcome to America.
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks for having us on.
Okay, well, thanks for coming. Esther, tell us your story. You were born and raised in Mexico City, and then you met Tom on a business trip. Take it from there.
Yeah, so I met my husband in one of his business trip, and then he started visiting me back and forth Mexico, and then so he proposed me. And then before that, I tried to apply for my visa. It was declined like 2 times. And then we start the process again. But now we changed the way. That was visa fiancé.
So how many years from the time you guys met till the time you became a citizen? How long did it take?
Yeah, we met in 2003, and then she became a citizen just last month. So it's been
oh my gosh! All right,
it's been about 14 years.
Esther, during the naturalization ceremony, this video plays from the president. What did you take away from that video? Did it move you?
It was surprised me. As the way that he was very humble, welcoming all the people, and feel so very happy, and I don't know, it's something in my heart that moving to be very grateful.
That's beautiful. And one of the messages from the video was that assimilation is very important, but also to help other people assimilate. Did you take away anything from that as well?
I don't know how I can explain that, but
Tom, you want to help her out?
Yeah, well, I think the important. I mean, honestly, Jesse, to be honest with you, the being at the ceremony, it was very emotional for me too. There were 56 people there from 23 different countries
right,
that were becoming U.S. citizens, and the Department of Homeland Security took it very serious. It was a very solemn event, and we had individuals that were reciting the national anthem for the first time, singing the national anthem, and the Pledge of Allegiance was played. And the thing that I took away from the video for Donald Trump was that it was sincere, that all of a sudden you take this oath and you get all these rights as an American citizen, automatically. Once that oath is done, you are it, and you have all those rights. And it was, now's your opportunity to give back, and we're very grateful for that. It was important for us. It took 14 years for her to become a citizen, but it took years for her to get here to the United States. But it was important to us to do it the right way, to follow the process. We got declined a couple times, but we kept trying, and we finally got approved.
It's a very long process, and one of the things that you guys have to do is take a civics quiz to learn about the country and the history of the country. And next up, I'm going to be asking Americans if they can answer those same questions that you had to take. And so stick around. I want you guys to see that. Thank you guys very much, and I'm so glad you're an American citizen. So get ready to laugh. A funny one up next.
Einstein, James Dean, Brooklyn's got a winning team. Davy Crockett, Peter Pan, Elvis Presley, Disneyland, Bardo, Budapest, Alabama, Khrushchev, Princess Grace, Peyton Place, trouble in the Suez. We didn't start the...
In order to become a naturalized citizen, all immigrants who come here legally must pass a basic civics test. But could your average American answer these same questions correctly? What did the Declaration of Independence do?
I have no idea. That's awful.
I am not that knowledgeable on those declarations and the constitutions and all of that.
What country did we declare our independence from?
Virginia. Correct?
No.
How many senators are there?
12. Yes! No! Oh, damn it. 42.
100.
I don't know how many senators we have, but I don't really care.
Who are the senators from the state of New York?
I don't know.
I wish I didn't know either. Crying Chuck. Doesn't ring a bell?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Who is Susan B. Anthony?
You can see her at the library a lot.
She a doctor?
Dr. Anthony?
Well, that is very interesting.
He was never on John Oliver's show, The Daily Show, Stephen Colbert, so I don't even know about him.
It's a woman.
Oh, she's a woman?
Who won the Civil War?
I would have to say that the South won.
The Civil War is still going on. Nobody won that year. Nobody won that. Facts. Facts. Facts.
What was the Emancipation Proclamation?
I need to go home and read my 6th grade history book.
What the heck are you guys doing? Trying to ruin my life and make me look like a friggin' idiot?
Who is the Vice President of the United States? Mike.
Visconti? I don't know.
Pence.
Pence.
Pence? Mike Pence. What body of water is on the east coast of the United States?
That's Pacific Ocean.
The Pacific?
The Pacific.
What body of water is on the east coast of the United States?
The Atlantic Ocean?
What territory did America buy from France?
Paris. With Benjamin Franklin.
We bought Paris?
Isn't it? With Benjamin Franklin, we bought Paris?
You're on to something with that.
We bought something from France?
Louisiana.
I thought it was the Statue of Liberty.
No, that was a gift.
Oh, it was a gift? They didn't pay for that?
If I was a citizen trying to get into the country, would I pass?
We'd give it to you.
Well.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Crown Heights, yo, 4 chains, yo, it's popping. I'm Palestinian, yo.
I'm Waters.
Waters?
And this is my world. Up next, hate mail. Time now for hate mail. First up, Stetson Beaumont tweets, Is it greater than or less than 10 times per day that producers walk in to find Jesse drooling on himself and staring blankly at the wall? It's less than, but it's close. Maddie wants to know, which one takes up more space with their ego? Jesse Waters or the whole state of Oklahoma? Oklahoma's not that big. And finally, Dan Gross wants to know, how can you be alive without a brain? Need to donate yourself to science. Thank you. And that's all for us tonight. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And remember, I'm Waters, and this is my world.